Congressman Mark Pocan is with us for the hour, taking your calls on whatever topics you'd like to ask him about. And let's see here, Jeff in San Francisco, you are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hello, Congressman. My question is, I live in California, and we're pushing for a single-payer system. And one way I think we could pay for this that I don't see a lot of states doing it except for North Dakota is a state bank. Just what your comments on this would be, if this is something you might have some insight on.
Yeah, Jeff, so let me, if I can, first take a little bit about single payer. This is something that I know we've discussed before on this program, that, one of the things that's maybe coming out of a byproduct of this debate with them trying to take away health care in order to do tax reform, for the wealthiest and for corporations in this country. And, we're trying to say we've got to fix where we can the parts of the Affordable Care Act, recognizing 20 million people now have access. But maybe, one of the positive debates have been, if we just had a single-payer system, you'd be able to get around a lot of the complexity that you have with either system. And the bill that John Conyers introduced has more sponsors than ever before because we're seeing momentum from the public. So I just want to say that first. How we fund that, there's a lot of different ways you can look at doing something. In the Progressive Caucus budget that'll be released in a couple of weeks, we lay out a path to get to single payer, and a lot of things that we look at on funding sources, for example, are things like a high-speed financial transaction fee and taking back some of the corporate loopholes. There's a lot of ways you could do it. If a state wanted to do something innovative like a state bank, and I know that that's something that people have talked about previously, that could be a possibility. I just know that when we look at some of the big ways to bring in money right now, something as simple as a financial transaction fee on those high-speed trades, they're doing this right now in the European Union. That alone, we have a proposal to bring in $1.8 trillion just to do that, and that's the sort of ideas I think that can really bring in some big revenue where you can make sure that people have real health care. And don't forget, if you cut out the administration and the marketing and all those other things in health care, that provides savings that also can help fund real health care.
Yeah, and just on the state bank, I think North Dakota started theirs in 1909 or 1916 or something. It was during the progressive or populist progressive Republican era, and it was originally to provide very, very low interest loans to farmers, but that state bank has saved that state over the century probably the equivalent in today's dollars of hundreds of billions of dollars, or certainly billions of dollars. And California is transferring billions of dollars every year in profits to the big New York banks. If they were to create their own state bank like North Dakota did over a century ago and take all the profit from that banking, and they could offer services to low-income people. Bernie's been pitching this, I believe. Actually, he had a different strategy for it. But is there any federal backstop for that? I know there's nothing federally that stops it, that prevents it, but has there been any discussion at the federal level about encouraging state banking, or are the banking lobbyists so strong and aggressive in Washington, D.C. that nobody's willing to bring up the topic?
Yeah, I honestly, Tom, I haven't seen much of a debate on it one way or the other, to be perfectly honest, at the federal level. Like you said, I don't know if there's necessarily a stop to do it based on federal law, but certainly there could be ways to encourage. What I look at is, this is the time period we're at where Donald Trump's going to be doing a lot of things that we're going to be fighting, trying to stop, offering some progressive alternatives. But this is where states can be innovative and show the path forward for progressives by doing innovative public policy. And if they do that, that gives us those real practical examples then to show what alternatives are. So, we're looking at states like California, quite honestly, and other states that have Democratic legislatures and governors to move some of these ideas forward. So, if California can take a look at this and, sees a path that it makes sense, I would certainly hope that that's something that could happen.
Yeah, and for anybody who's listening who wants to know more about it, Ellen Brown over at webofdebt.com has written about this numerous times. It's part of the book she wrote, Web of Debt. And she's a real expert on this. There's some really great information. You just Google Ellen Brown and State Bank, and it all comes right up. David in Columbus, Ohio, listening on WGRN. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Congressman. I have a quick question. This is on the Great Lakes Initiative. I think the Great Lakes are a huge resource for most of the Midwestern states, and they supply water and they supply recreation and their resource for fishing. But that's been cut off, and I'd like to know if it's possible for the states to, bring up the money for promoting and continuing this project.
Well, this is something that I think is going to be interesting. It's in President Trump's budget to try to eliminate. But, if you look at the Great Lakes in a map, you've clearly got a lot of Republicans bordering that. In Wisconsin alone, I think we have 3 or 4 Republicans that border some of the Great Lakes. And if you take away those initiatives that have helped to do all the work that they're doing right now, they're going to have some explaining to do back home. So I don't know if it's a slam dunk yet. His full budget will be released in May. States certainly can do initiatives. The problem is, this is a kind of a shared responsibility, I think, is why the federal government was involved. And if you have states trying to take on a greater part of that burden, it's not as easy to do, which is, I think, is why it was part of a federal initiative. But, whether it be this, whether it be cuts to Meals on Wheels, cuts to Pell Grants, cuts to the National Institute of Health, go through all the different areas, there are going to be a lot of conflicts with actual members of Congress and programs in their district that affect their constituents. And we just have to make sure we're doing everything we can to fight on all of these fronts. So if this is an issue that's particularly of interest to you, find the local and national groups working on this and help them to help magnify your voice so that we can help convince Republican members of Congress that this is not something they want to do to hurt their constituents.
A minute and a half to the break here. Scott, listening on Sirius XM in Hudson, Wisconsin. Scott, you're on with Congressman Pocan. Can you be brief, please?
Yes. Congressman Pocan, can we start really, as a Democratic Party in Wisconsin, start making a strong push to get rid of Walker? Because any union person who has supported him has been basically getting their lifeblood cut out from underneath him with all his new little things as far as not even recognizing unions to take on certain type of building projects and such. And we need to have a strong candidate come to run against this guy. It's going to be 4 more years of the same, which we've dealt with for many years. What's your comment on that?
Yeah, I hear you, Scott. First of all, I think Scott Walker is eminently beatable after putting out a very much a re-election budget to put money back in schools and things that he's cut for the last 6 years. He only went up 1 point in the polls. He's maxed out now at 45%. I think he is very much someone who's in jeopardy. And I don't care if we don't have a candidate, quite honestly, until the end of summer, early fall. It's still plenty early. With everything that's happening with the Trump administration, we've been told by people who know this very well that keep letting this roll out, and there's some polls happening in the next, I think, 30 days. They're going to give us some more information. But no worries that we don't have a candidate right now at all. I'm very confident he's still very vulnerable, and I think we can take back our governorship.
Yeah, and that's kind of meta to the entire Republican Party right now, isn't it? If we do this right.
Well, exactly. What we're noticing is just, Trump is everything he's doing has been so poorly received by the public, and you're going to be connecting Republican governors and Republican members of Congress and the Senate, and hopefully members of the state legislatures. And I think 2018 has a very good chance to be a wave year on the left. So
yeah, let's hope so.
Let's get this right rather than fast.
Amen. Amen. Congressman Mark Pocan with us for the hour, taking your calls. We'll be back right after the break. It's coming up on 28 minutes past the hour.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
You can reach Congressman Pocan's website, pocan.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Mark, M-A-R-K, Pocan, P-O-C-A.